After studying this module, you would be able to examine the kinds of soul, understand about the consciousness in relation to Sufism, learn about the advanced stages of consciousness, analyze the importance of Sufism in current scenario. Soul, spirit and self have seen as co-joined terms in Sufism. At many places, these terms are being used interchangeably, and at other places, there are certain distinctions, but that distinction is too blurred. It is important to understand the views of Sufism on both self and soul by connecting them and also by parting them apart. Sufism, views of the self and soul. Conscious mind has different barriers in its path. These barriers reduce its capacity to fully understand its potentialities and pull it down from the desired place in the universe. The Sufi teacher works with poetry, dance, music, stories to move beyond these barriers and blockages. The teacher takes different paths. He or she can use different teachings, methods, or can provide a scheme, a concept, a philosophy, or a map to help the follower rejudge and re-understanding the place of his conscious mind, and then eventually comes in harmony with the subconscious learning that has already taken place. The Sufism psychology concentrates on the subconscious mind, which is refers to a nafs and is represents a more divine connection with the Almighty Allah through the relationship with Ruh. This involves a process with a Sufi scholar Hazrat Inayat Khan called as disbanding and dissolution of false ego into the real one. The nafs becomes one with the divinity or divine being in the same manner as the individual quality of unity connects with the divine self or with the essence of self. This unity and essence together makes the male and female categories and concepts of the sacred. In the same manner, an individual soul consists of both male and female aspects that make up the full humanity. Nafs have immense capabilities and power. It has different phases of the inner bio networks and hence has both non-human and human potentials. There are different phases through which nafs moves, grows and develops. Nafs begin with acknowledging its own outward sensations. Initially, nafs is not able to discriminate between the inner states or the internal emotions and feelings. There is rigidity in the thinking patterns and habitual pattern of activities is being followed. Practically all the desires and wishes of subconscious self overpower the conscious self. As the phase progresses, the soma shows more and more flexibility until the time it reaches the stages where there exists a unity between all the patterns of human being. These patterns are affective, cognitive, and behavioral. Nevertheless, it would be true to say that there are limitations as one sees himself as oneself with one's own feelings and behavior. That is a very confined view of the person, as the whole being could only be developed by understanding the divine essence called Dhat and divine qualities called Sifat. When the level of pure self acceptance occurs, a person becomes in harmony with himself and with the world and people around. A person who has reached the phase of the blessing soul Nafsi Salima gives all his energy and himself to the service of others. He at this stage understands that his ego self is one with that of others because everything and everyone is connected in this universe. Hence, thinking of others good and working for it means working for one's own self. Kinds of souls, its psychological and religious understanding. Sufi tradition sees seven facets of the soul, or it divides it into seven souls. Each soul is represented at a different juncture of evolution and development. These could be divided into the mineral soul, after which comes the vegetable soul, then the animal soul, then the personal soul, the human soul, the secret soul, and the last, the secret of secrets. Sufi does not view the model of souls in a hierarchy where growth of one means growth of another, or the preceding souls, and movement of growth in progression. For Sufism, a balanced view of these souls is necessary. Each soul has something important to give, and for a real spiritual expansion to occur, a balanced development of the individual as a whole is needed, which comprises of growth of his body, mind, spirit, and soul. In modern time, many systems and disciplines have come up with focus on spiritual healing of mind or of body. They stress on different spiritual beliefs, values, philosophies, and techniques. Sufism perceives the whole life of a person as a spiritual practice. It places attention on the importance of family, work, leisure, and relationship in providing enough opportunities for spiritual development as done by prayers or reflections. The Arabic word ruh, which is used for soul, has other meanings too, like spirit and breath. The sparkling of God's Spirit is called the secret of secrets, and it is placed at the highest level of soul. Different soul cater to different needs of humans. These needs could be bodily, mental, or spiritual. Concerns about one soul and ignoring other could lead to imbalance. These imbalances are dangerous for the human species as it leads to fulfillment of only one particular kind of need. Balance of all seven souls bring about balanced health and enlargement of a prosperous and fuller life. The mineral soul. This mineral soul is also called the Ruh Medni. It is located in the skeletal system. It is the part of soul which does not revolt against Almighty's will. It is as a rock which is placed once, would never move from there until the time an external force forces it to move. The vegetable soul. The vegetable soul is located in the liver and is related to the digestive system. It is also called the Ruh Nabati. The vegetable soul regulates enlargement and incorporation of nutrients. It is that kind of soul as God gave to plants. Its functions are new in comparison to the mineral soul, as mineral soul has no need of nourishment. The animal soul. The animal soul is located in the heart and is connected to the circulatory system. It is also called Ruh Hawain. This soul includes our fears, angers, passions, and desires. All organism moves towards what is rewarding and moves away from whatever is punishing. According to Sufism, all the souls should be in balance to each other. In a balanced state, animal soul acts as a precious asset to the happiness, well-being and health. The personal soul. The personal soul is located in the brain and relates to the nervous system. It is also called Ruh Nafsani. Personal soul helps a person to respond to the environmental aspects in a better manner. A person can plan what he wishes to do, and a mental model could be prepared for the outcome of the actions which have already taken place and would eventually take place. The human soul. The human soul is located in the gulp, the spiritual heart. It is also called Ruh Insani. It is more refined than the personal soul. It is the center of reliance, empathy, and originality. It is the place where the person's spiritual standards, values, and experiences. Creativity first occurs at the soul level, the brain, which develops in the personal soul, works like a computer where all the information is stored, manipulated, and retrieved. However, the inventiveness only happens at the heart. The real imaginations come from the heart. However, it is unfortunate that focal point for all education system is the expansion of intellect and little attention is paid to the development of heart. Heart is center for arts, love, empathy and service to others. Hence, it is important to grow the intelligence of heart. The secret soul. The secret soul is the part of human that remembers Almighty. It is that inner consciousness which is located in the inner heart. It is also called Ruh-Sir. This soul has a full understanding of its birth and culmination. It knows where it comes from and where it will be heading. When the soul were incarnated, the Almighty asked them a question: Am I your Lord? And the souls replied, Yes, indeed. The soul who responded to the question was the secret soul. It knew who it was and still knows who it is. The secret soul breathes in the shadow of God's presence. It lives in close proximity to God. The loss of connection with the Almighty only happens when it is reincarnated in this materialistic universe. Sufism and consciousness. The traveler on the path to truth must have intelligence, understanding, and insight. These are his prerequisites. The consciousness of Sufism is a science of consciousness that holds the reality that knowledge comes through experience. Therefore, the true study of Sufism leads not only to greater understanding but also to increased awareness and consciousness. On the path of Sufism, the quest for knowledge is equated with the attainment of knowledge through experience. There is no distinction between studying consciousness and increasing consciousness. They are one in the same. Consciousness comes through experience of the complete system of unity. The philosophy or psychology of Sufi consciousness is not a subject of mental inquiry, but rather a direct inquiry from within the longing of the Sufi's heart as he or she seeks to understand the wisdom of divine intellect. Therefore, to explain something or to have vertible knowledge or science of it means to be able to relate it to being itself, to relate all of the properties and qualities of that particular being to its ontological stature. What is found by means of observation and logical inferences from it does not lead to the metaphysical secrets of things, but rather to the discovery of certain aspects of their outward manifestation or to the relation of phenomenon. True science is to relate these phenomena to their inner aspect, which are the essence and the center, relating them to pure being. The concept of existing on more than one level is an important aspect of Sufism. The level of simple self and cosmic consciousness are not separate or distinct. Sufism is a path that leads towards agreement of intention, thought, and action. The heart of consciousness. In Sufism, the heart is considered to be center of the intellect and the conscious center of being. Many individuals may strive for the knowledge of unity, the vision of universal reality, yet few achieve this knowledge in a lifetime. Those who do achieve this level are called Sufis. The consciousness of unity. In Sufism, as has been stated, the goal for life is to become conscious in every moment. As in some other disciplines or on other spiritual paths, attachment to the goal may be a distraction from full awareness. However, in Sufism, it is clear from the beginning what the goal is. In this way, there is a standard by which to live and a way to determine by the knowledge of a teacher if one is moving towards the intended goal or direction. This goal of consciousness includes awareness in every movement and every breath. The awareness is transcendent and beyond any limitations or separation. The limitations are also referred to as illusion in Sufism. Seeing a part of something separate is an illusion in contrast to seeing the whole. Attraction to or the distraction of the physical realm and its possessions is one of the limitations of human nature. However, because of the rule of balance, the Sufi does not practice extended seclusion or mortification. These practices may be considered distractions or limitations at the other extreme rather than attraction to the world. Advanced stages of consciousness. The Quran uses fana and baka paradigms to state that everything in the physical universe will perish except the face of God. Fana is the Sufi term for extinction. It means to annihilate the self while remaining physically alive. Persons having entered this state are said to have no existence outside of and be in complete unity with Allah. Fana may be attained by constant meditation and by contemplation on the attributes of God, coupled with the deunifications of human attributes. It is a sort of mental yet real death. It liberates man from all contingency outside of his spiritual quest. His ultimate aim is the truth. 3 degrees of fana could be distinguished: fana of acts, fana of attributes, and fana of essence. The Sufi fana, in its triple manifestation, does not have an exclusively negative effect or action. It is the annihilation of everything contingent, whether this be in the form of action, attributes, or essence. More precisely, it is the annihilation of everything that is not God, and God is the supreme object of all good, all beauty. Fana, thus conceived, is an internal state which requires from the Sufi a sustained and permanent effort of concentration to break his fetter and take on the demands and calls of truth by his acts, his moral virtues, his whole being, that implies perfect control of himself in words, deeds, and even thoughts. It is all this prize that he attains an interior spiritual state where he becomes the pure and clear mirror in which the lights of truth are reflected in their entire splendor. In one sense, Sufism is essentially a path of self transformation, ending in fana and baka. Aristia and Sheikh in 1989 described the state of fana and baka in psychological terms. Fana is the disintegration of one's narrow self concept, social self, and limited intellect. Baka is the reintegration as the universal self or the activation of one's totality. Sufism and humanity's future. With the changing times and the era of globalization and industrialization, many discoveries have increased human knowledge and understanding of the universe. The knowledge has given new perspectives and newfound capabilities to the human beings, but instead of being grateful for these gifts, human beings have exploited them for their own selfish needs and desires. As the result of this, the lives of humans is devoid of peace, tranquility, and serenity. The greed and higher level of materialism has led to increasing number of unresolved problems for all humankind. Reverence and skepticism is flourishing day by day. Increasing conflicts among different classes, creed, religion, interests among the inhabitants of the planet is leading all the species on a path of self destruction and aloofness. Human race was once a child who was restless, inquisitive. The child was not supervised, and hence through its own guidance and supervision it had made this progress. The result of this kind of extreme control on its own behavior has led to confusion, helplessness, and perplexed. In this mechanistic world, this child has lost its purity in the endless race of excitement and terror of failure. There was once a stage when these technologies made people comfortable and secure, but that stage of comfort has long been left behind. The biggest mistake of today's time is the focus of almost everyone on the external reality. This focus leads to a temporary blindness. This blindness leads to person to give more importance to only rationality and sensory information. He fails to realize the hidden treasure of knowledge in the heart of every being. The transcended modes of awareness and knowledge remain unexploited. The alienation this human race is facing and the kind of problems which are left unresolved could only be resolved with multi-dimensional understanding of the universe rather than an imperfect perspective. It has to be understood that the remedy of all problems exists in the human itself. One has to reach to his highest potential to remove all these troubles, and for doing so, it is necessary to concentrate on the internal reality rather than external one. Complete knowledge could only be attained through the help of indulging in the inner pool of strength within a person. This does not mean that external reality is futile. It only means that inner knowledge is much more valuable to reach the zenith of humanity and divinity. The religious groups and spiritual traditions have always stressed the fundamental reality. Each has laid down certain guidelines which could enhance the potentialities and capabilities existent inside a person. These practical guidelines change according to the era they fall in, but the teachings are same and lead to the lightened path of wisdom. A person's mind has to be continuously in motion so that he could attach his own interpretation to the teaching. Rightly and fixation cannot work at the same time. Era and circumstances keep on changing. It is very important to have a match between the needs and requirements of an era and the given teachings. The Sufi order matches both the requirements of the surrounding and the inner need, both wisdom of past and future considerations, both the person concerns and the global problems. In teachings, emphasizes that as a single atom consists of endless energy, similarly the most evolved matter, which is human body, has a pool of inner strength and potentialities. These discoveries by the followers lead to finding solutions to all the human beings' problems, whether collectivistic or individualistic. The materialistic discoveries would continue to sever humanity, but Sufism has a broader aim of uncovering the capabilities within the human self so that these potentialities could be utilized for the benefit of all the establishments. The hidden treasure which Sufism seeks to utilize is love. It is the power of love which breaks the chain of narrow mindedness, materialism, selfishness, and greediness. It is love which gives rise to sympathy, sacrifice, surrender, empathy, forgiveness, patience, and generosity. Love motivates a person to do good deeds. It inspires a person to be courageous and helpful. It challenges a person to move beyond his own past performance, and eventually it satisfies his own need of being loved. God could only unfold the future. Nevertheless, humanity can evolve from generation to generation, understanding the inner self, one's attitudes, feelings, and thinking. The higher knowledge could enable humans to relate to the need of all the species, planet, and universe. It could bring about the understanding of interrelatedness of humanity with divinity and the Creator. Through this awareness, an era of boundless and limitless love could be shaped and lived in. Summary: the psychology of Sufism centers on the subconscious self nafs and the dissolutions of the false ego in the real. According to the stream of Sufi tradition, the different souls and the balance between them bring about a healthy, rich, and full life. Rab Medani, Rab Nabati, etc. all have their own focal points in the various parts of body, inner consciousness, and even spirit. Sufism is not only the stream of thought which is limited to understanding of being, but it is the only tradition whose principles applies to the modern world, the most reduction in destruction, greed, and jealousy, and moving towards empathy, love, and peace, which eventually makes this world a better place to live in.